was made for a digital class I have to take for college. That's called computer graphics and art design, and it is required for my major. So as you can see here, I start off with some preliminary sketches just to figure out how I wanted the cats to be positioned. Then I decided that I'm just going to use the photographs to be able to tell where everything should be. The next thing I did was put my one cat Sylvester into two different images. And what was really nice about having Sylvester as my model of sorts is that he's already a black and white cat and he has very little markings. So it allowed me to add the markings later on, and it just turned out really nice, I think. The next thing I did was lighten the image of the cats, which you saw earlier. I used a lot of the transform tools just to get everything in place. The next thing I knew I wanted to do was have a tree background, and here I used two different pictures of trees to make the trees, the final tree, look more lush. I knew I wanted the forest to look like ThunderClan from the other side, and here I make a sketch of the rocks in the river to just know where everything is placed. I eventually use the sketch as a huge guideline and don't really get rid of it in the end. This image here is actually a quite interesting one. It is from my Arizona trip that I took last summer. It really helped me with the texture for the grass. Here again, I'm trying to select everything and it just wasn't going quite how I wanted to. As you can see, selecting the parts of the cat were quite difficult, but I eventually just erased everything. Graystripe was a lot of fun to make. It was quite easy because I already had a black and white cat, and I just had to make him a little bit more gray, so I put him in grayscale. And after I put him in grayscale, I just sort of blended him. I didn't have to make a lot of adjustments to him because he was in a distance, plus he was already black and white. The river was kind of difficult to do. I think in the end I should have used the trees and rocks as reflection on the water, but I just wasn't thinking about it at the time. The rocks were the most difficult part of this piece because I just had trouble matching the textures with already the established textures. There's some little fish. It's kind of hard to see in the final, but I like the little fish. Fireheart's eyes were by far one of my favorite parts. They were fun to play with, and I kind of cheated a bit because I made them a little bit blue as well. The cat in the back is Graystripe, and the cat in the front is Fireheart. They are both from the Warrior series. And the reason why I chose that was because it was by far my favorite book in the beginning series. Right here is like my favorite part. It's when I start making unique patterns on Fireheart, and I think Warriors is a great way to play with patterns on cats because the books themselves are more leaning towards fantasy than actual real life depictions. Which, I mean, no duh, they're talking cats and they live in a pretty much civilized clan, so it's kind of hard to say, oh yeah, this is very true to life. This is using a bunch of different layer styles just to make it look like shaded areas instead of just a blue blob. I was kind of going for more of an illustrative quality in this, and less from an actual realistic standpoint. I really was inspired by the actual original covers, both the older version and the newer version, but I would say I'm leaning more towards the older version because the original idea of Fireheart and Graystripe crossing the RiverClan River, but this time they're from a different perspective, facing Fireheart and Graystripe. The trees in the background are supposed to be ThunderClan, and the river is RiverClan's. I guess you could say the rocks are Sunning Rocks. You know, the rocks that they always fight over. As you can see here, I used the dodge tool originally for the trees, but then I decided that I'm just going to use a bunch of different layer styles to make it look more lush. here's something unique I did. I actually used the bevel emboss tool to use on my Arizona photograph. I used on my Arizona photograph and then used it as a base to put the grass on top of. It's around here where I decided that the rocks were coming to a completion point, and I was starting to really like them. I actually added a little bit of moss or seedweed or something like that onto the rocks in the back. Oh, here's my favorite part. My favorite part is adding those textures onto those rocks, because that's the point where I was like, oh yeah, this is what I should have done from the beginning. The grass was, I got lazy here. I just added the grass kind of real lazy like. Here's where I kind of struggled a bit with how I wanted the wording to go. I used a number of different techniques to making it look different and unique. And what I settled with eventually was not making it yellow, but making it black and white transparent. This speed paint does not actually have the final few minutes of how I changed the fonts. You'll see how Aaron Hunter changes from this speed paint into the final. So yeah, I changed the color and the font of Aaron Hunter, and also the quote of the reviewer. But yeah, we're coming into a close, and I would like to say thank you for watching. I have an Instagram which I upload frequently. I also have a Facebook page, an Etsy where you can buy original and prints. None of this artwork. I feel like it would be wrong to make prints of a cover of a book series I don't own. I own the artwork, but I don't own the series, obviously. What else is up there? You're already on my YouTube channel, so you might as well like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, probably related to Warriors, especially animations. And yeah, all links are in the descriptions. Overall, this took over 5 or 6 hours to make. I wasn't really keeping track of time, and